Empirical formula, it does not necessarily represent the actual numbers of atoms, but it represents the molecules of a compound. It also represents only the ratio between those of the numbers. Second is the molecular formula. So the actual numbers of atoms of each element that occur in the smallest freely existing unit or a molecule. So that's the difference between the empirical and the molecular formula. And to get the empirical and molecular formula, we have to solve or calculate. So we are using, or we're going to use formulas to solve for the empirical and the molecular. The empirical formula of hexane is C3H7. Its molecular weight is 86.2 AMO or grams per mole. What is the molecular formula of hexane? So our first example is to get the molecular formula of the hexane. So in our given, the hexane or the empirical formula of hexane is C3H7, and we have already our molecular weight, which is 86.2 AMO or grams per mole. So first, we are going to calculate the formula weight of the C3H7, or we're going to get the molar mass. So C and then the hydrogen. So since we have 3 atoms of carbon and 7 atoms of oxygen, so our molar mass for carbon is 12. So times 12 and then times 1 grams per mole. So, ma'am, where did you get or asa nato nakuha atong 12 and 1 nga wala man siya sa given sa atong question? So, kaning 12 and 1 is a constant molar mass of carbon and hydrogen. So, which means, dira sa inyong periodic table, ang bawat element dira is naa siya molar mass. And, para uniform ta class sa atong answer, i-whole number nato ang ato ang molar mass. So, 3 times 12 is equivalent to 36. And 7 times 1 is equivalent to 1. So, we're going to add, so 36 plus 7 is equivalent to 43 grams per mole. Or, pwede nyo rin gamitin yung AMO or AMU. So, we have now our formula weight. So, we can now proceed to calculate our, or to get the ratio between the empirical and the molecular. So, MW over mga N is equals to MW over EW. So, MW is 86.2. 0.2 AMO over molar mass 43 AMO. So, all you have to do is to divide lang, class. So, 86.8 is given na siya sa question. So, 86.2 divided to 43 is equals to 2. So, we can now solve, or we can now get our molecular formula. So, C3H7 multiply to 2. So, 2 times 3, so it is 6. Then, 2 times 7, it is 14. So, therefore, the molecular formula of C3H7 is C6H14. So, this is now our final answer. The C6H14. So, this is the answer for example number 1. So, number 2 example is dili available or dili given ang empirical. Kung dili, we are going to get the empirical formula. But, a compound contains or nakitaan nila ng presence of nitrogen, hydrogen, carbon, and oxygen. So, unsa atong himuon if ang empirical formula naman ang hindi available. So, first step, so we're going to get the moles of each element. So first is we have the nitrogen. So nitrogen is equivalent to 46.67 grams times 1 mole over compound is found to have 46.67% of nitrogen, 6.70% of hydrogen, 19.98% of carbon, and 26.65% of oxygen. What is the empirical formula? So 46.67 divided to 14 is equivalent to 3.334 mole. So that is now the mole of our nitrogen. Next one is we have our hydrogen. So hydrogen contains 6.70 grams times 1 mole over 1 gram. So as you all know naman that hydrogen is the lightest element among the periodic table and also in the planet. So we have a cancel nato atong grams. So 6.70 multiplied and divided. So it's equivalent to 6.70 mole. So always remember that the molar mass of each element is found in the periodic table of elements. So next element is we have the carbon. So carbon is 19.98 grams multiplied to 1 mole over 12 grams. So cancel out again ang grams, mabilin ang mole. So 19.98 divided to 12 is equivalent to 1.665 mole. Then the last element present is the oxygen, which contains 26.65 grams multiplied to 1 mole over 16 grams. So cancel out the grams again. So 26.65 divided to 16 is equivalent to 1.666 mole. So now naana ato ang mole. So ang next step nato is to get the least number or the least element found in the compound, and the least element found in the compound is the carbon. So ang carbon is equivalent to 1.665 moles. So siya itong gamiton to get our empirical. So i-divide lang nato na siya 1.665. So 3.334 divided to 1.665 is equivalent to 2. So ang mole mawala kay cancel out man na siya. So another one, 1.665 mole. So cancel out again ang mole, mabilin. So imo pong 6.70 divided to 1.665, so it is equivalent to 4. And also this 1.665 mole. So kung ma-cancel again, then this is equivalent to 1. And oxygen, 1.666 divided to 1.665 mole. So cancel out again ang ato ang unit. So it is also equivalent to 1. Divide nyo lang. So we have now the subscript of each element. So therefore, we can now come up with our final answer. Therefore, the empirical formula of a compound is N2H4CO. So this is now our final answer. So that is the empirical formula of a compound which contains N2H4 and CO. So, no need na to write the 1 because understandable naman siya, understood na siya nga pag naa gani, pag 1 gani, which means na ay isa ka element na present. So, no need na kay kaning carbon pa lang, nag-represent na siya sa iyang presence. So, that is our answer. So, third example is, what if molecular formula ang ginapangita but dili pod given ang empirical formula? So, habang nagadaghan ang ginapangita class, nagataas pod ang ato ang solution. So, this example number 3, it is wherein ang empirical o molecular kay dili na given. So, just like what we did to example number 2, maugya po itong starting point. So, letter A, step A. So, we're going to get first the moles of each element and then the empirical formula. So, we have the carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. So, carbon is equals to
a compound contains 75.46% carbon, 4.43% hydrogen, and 20.11% oxygen by mass.
So, 75.46
it has a molar weight of 318.31 grams per mole. What is the molecular formula of the compound?
Hydrogen is 4.43 grams multiplied to 1 mole over 1 gram. Cancel out the grams. So, matitira is the mole. So, that is our hydrogen. And the last one, we have our oxygen. So, oxygen is equivalent to 20.11 grams multiplied to 1 mole over 16 grams. Cancel out the grams. And then, 20.11 divided to 16 is equivalent to 1.257 mole. So, just like what we did to our example number 2, we are going to find out the least number or the least element present in a compound. And it is the oxygen. So, we're going to use oxygen to divide all the 3 elements. So, 1.257. So, may butang pa na to ang mole dira, the mole. So, nagyapan siya. So, wala na unit ka nabilin. So, 6 point, makancel out yapon ang mole. So, 6.288 divided to 1.257 is equivalent to 5. Then here, 1.257 mole. Cancel out again. So, it is 3.5. Then here, 1.257 mole. Cancel out the mole. So, it is 1. Understandable naman no, pag same number, imong i-divide, 1 yun. But class, always remember na dili pwede maging decimal ang subscript sa element. So, we need to find the least number na pwede na to gamiton para ma-whole number ang ato ang answer. Kaya nga to ang hydrogen is 3.5 and dili na siya pwede. So, 1, itong i-multiply sa 1, dili yapon pwede kay 3.5 yapon ang gawas. So, let's try the 2. So, 5 times 2 is 10. 3.5 times 2, 7. So, this is 2. So, which means that 2 is the pwede siya magamit sa lahat ng element. Kaya whole number naman si 3.5. So, now we have our empirical formula. So our empirical formula is equivalent to C10H7NO2. So before tayo magka-proceed sa atong molecular formula, let's get first our molar mass. So CHO. So we have 10, 7, and 2. Multiply by their molar mass. So carbon is 12, hydrogen is 1, oxygen 16. So multiply 10 times 12, 120, 7, 2 times 16, 32. Then add. So 120 plus 7 plus 32 is equivalent to 159 amo. Then we can now use our empirical weight to get our subscript para mas kuha na nato ato ang molecular formula. So letter D, N is equals to MW over EW. So our MW, which is already given, 318.31 amo over U yan siya class. 159 amo. So divided 318.31 divided 259. So it is equivalent to 2. So we can now use this one para makuha nato ato ang molecular formula. So step E. So C10H7O2 times 2. So our result, 10 times 2 is equivalent to 20. H is equivalent to 14. And oxygen is equivalent to 4. So that is now our molecular formula. So therefore, last step, therefore the molecular formula of a compound is C20H14O4. So this is now our final answer. So as you can observe class, gisolve nato first ang moles per element, then get the number for us to para makuha nato ato ang empirical formula. Kay kung dili nato nagamitan, we cannot get or dili nato makuha atong empirical. So after the step A, makuha na din nato sa step B ato ang empirical. So this is our empirical formula. Then step C, we're going to use the empirical formula to get the molar mass. So dili na nato to gamiton tong first niya na subscript. So since 10 naman ang carbon, so we use 10, then 7, oxygen for 2, then kani sila is the molar mass ni class. Kani na as first na itong agigamit. Muna ilang molar mass. So after that, nakuha na ito itong molar mass sa atong empirical weight. So we can now get our N. Para makuha na ito ang molecular formula. So molecular weight divided to empirical weight. So, molecular weight is already given sa question. So, you need not to get or to solve. So, ato ang empirical na lang ato ang isolve. So, since naanatay N, we can now get our molecular. So, this is our final answer class. That a compound contains 20 atoms of carbon, 14 atoms of hydrogen, and 4 atoms of oxygen. So I hope you understand the lesson today. You understand the difference between empirical and molecular. You understand how to solve the empirical and the molecular formula.